Hi there. In this video we are going to take a look at this TS100 soldering iron and two tips that I received from banggood.com for a review. Okay, so while I open the box, I'm going to give you a few info about this thing. It's fully digital, which is quite nice. As you can see, even the box is quite small, the tips are really slim, so that is really nice to work on electronics. The maximum power of this thing is 65 watts, and it can work from 12 volts to 24 volts. At 12 volts it has a power of 17 watts. So you can potentially use this directly in your car without needing any sort of power brick for it, which for someone that works a lot on his car like I do, is actually awesome. In your car you probably have somewhere around 13 and something volts, so that means that this thing will have actually more than 17 watts of heat output. It will probably have somewhere around 25 watts, something like that, because at 16 volts, for example, it has 30 watts. Anyway, enough about that. We will see if we can actually connect it directly to 12 volts. Hopefully I do have an adapter that will fit it. And let's see what we have in this particular box. Look at this thing, it's incredibly tiny. Let's see some manual safety instructions, most likely in here. Yeah, I'm not really going to read these things, am I? I'm thinking that this is the type of connector it has, DC5525. And here are some heating up times for it, which for me are quite good. At 24 volts, about 11 seconds, even 20 seconds at 16 volts is awesome. At 12 volts, yeah, it heats up a bit slower, but in my opinion, that's not that bad, is it? And oh, sorry, I was showing you the Chinese side of this thing. This is the English part of it. So you can even upgrade the firmware of this thing. As far as I'm concerned, I do not think I need to do that. I will use it directly as is. So yeah, let's get to it. Enough rambling. What do we have here? Some screws in case you lose them. I'm guessing these are the screws that hold the tip in place, and a little Allen wrench. I think this is how it's called. Yeah, it's hard for me to get over how small this thing is. How did they make it this small and still have 65 watts? Anyway, this is quite awesome. So let me undo this little screw in here. You can maybe see it down there. It's protruding, so I cannot put in the heating element or the tip in it or whatever. And I'm actually thinking of something else. I'm not even going to put in the tip that comes with it, and I'm going to explain why. As you can see, this is a conical tip. I prefer to have a chamfer on the tip at the very end of it. So when I desolder something small on a board, an SMD or something, I can touch with that particular chamfer. Even when using a solder wick, I can use it with that chamfer. So yes, this tip is quite nice. I've modified tips like this by just filing them down a little bit and making myself a chamfer, but honestly I do not recommend you to do that. Best bet is to simply get which is it, BC2 tip. Let me get this thing out of the way. Hopefully I can get it enough that you can see the tip types. That's not going to be nice, is it? Yeah, that's not going to be nice. Be back in a second. Okay, so removed enough of it that you can see the tip types. This is what you get default, TSB2. I think I got another one, a TSK. Yeah, it's a TSK, which is a chisel type for, I don't know, bigger stuff if I need to work on, or I can touch more legs of a component at the same time, or yeah, depends on what I need to use it at a particular moment. Then is a smaller version of that one, KU. Then we have the D24, which is, it looks like a flathead screwdriver, something like that. The BC2, which is the one that I got right here, which actually has a nice chamfer at the end of it, which is exactly what I need. And a C4, which in this picture looks like the BC2. They basically are almost identical, but in reality the C4 is much more thicker compared to the BC2. So for what I do, no, this is too big. Then the TSI, which is really sharp. And yeah, again, the one that I already told you and we have in here. So yeah, I'm going to directly pop this thing in, as opposed to the one that it comes with from the factory. They put in the one that most people will find useful, so that it makes sense. But for what I normally do, this is the kind of tip that I need. It's perfect. If the solder stays nicely on that part, it's awesome. So, ooh, this is a really nice feel. Okay, this thing, I don't know what I was expecting, honestly, but this thing is really good quality. Okay, this is quite nice. Let me just get rid of all of these protections on it. Let's tighten this little guy up. Not too much, you don't need to over tighten it. It's not going anywhere, is it? And not sure. Okay, so you can actually have ground connected in here. This is already tight, so I'm not touching it. From what I will give it power, I'm not going to have a ground going to it. But for me, that's not really an issue, because this thing doesn't run on mains power, so it doesn't have mains power anywhere near it. My laptop power supply that I'm going to use, because yes, you need to use a power supply with it if you are using it in-house, that's doing all the smart stuff of keeping me non-electrocuted. So let's get to that power supply. Really nice clicky feel on these things, and here we have the display. Switched to the wide angle camera. This is the particular power supply that I'm going to use it. In case you need any info, you can see it here. So it's maximum 70 watts, which is exactly what we need in here. I will put links in the description of the video for all of these things, so you can buy them if needed. Let's see what we get in here. Come on, why is everything so tangled up? Okay. This thing is a universal laptop power supply that I kind of have it around me most of the time, because I do tend to work on weird things. And let's see if by chance the plug that I have on it, which is quite a standard one, fits this. And yes, so a random plug that I already had on it, I think from a Toshiba laptop, maybe even some Acer laptops have this type of plug exactly, works on this. So Yeah, that's awesome. Let's plug this thing in. To plug it in, we have this particular cable, and this charger also has a connection for your car. So you could potentially use something like this inside your car and run the soldering iron at 24 volts. So you have it at maximum 65 watts of power inside your car with this. If you have just a simple dumb cable that gives it 12 volts, yes, you will have less power at your disposal, but I think for small wires you don't even need that much power. But anyway, let me connect this thing and power it up. And this thing is directly connected now, as you can see. Yeah, this cable of mine is not ideal, so I will get probably a different adapter for it that has a direct cable. This 90 degrees, although wait, and it's actually even rotating. Wait, no, I'm not going to get probably another adapter for it. This thing actually works well. Yeah, sorry, I'm sticking with this one. It's not that bad to have it at 90 degrees. Yeah, so let's see how fast it actually melts solder. How long does it take it to melt solder from zero? So it should be... Do I burn myself? No, it's zero. It's off now. So I'll be back in a second. Just wanted to add, you can rotate this tip where you need it, depending on how you feel comfortable working. So I'm searching now for my proper position for this particular tip. And I think I actually narrowed it down. Maybe. Yeah, that's about it. And now I lock it in place, because honestly, first time I wasn't really paying attention to this. I was quite excited at how nice this thing is. Okay, close up. Now let's get to testing. Okay, so we have the tip right here, the stopwatch in the background. This thing is off, and I honestly didn't even power it on because I didn't want it heating up. So you are getting the first power on. Let's see, from A. Okay, and it's going up. What did I do? I didn't even start the stopwatch. And this thing is already at 300. And if I hold A, yeah, I can lower the temp. If I hold B, I raise the temp. Yeah, sorry about that, I need to let it cool off. I had no idea how to use it. I should have seen that first. This is quite nice. I genuinely like this thing. So yeah, let's stop this. How do you stop it? And it actually shows you the temp. I'm going to simply cut the power to it. Or if I hold B for longer, now it's starting to... Can you stop it actually? Let me see if I press on it just quickly. Nope. Huh. Interesting. So I will completely cut the power to it. I need to read the manual. For sure you need to be able to stop this somehow without cutting the power. Okay, this thing is cooled down. Of course you can shut it off completely. Yeah, this has a really nice manual. I will also link that one in the description. I will link again an adapter to use it on mains. Well, I really like it. Anyway, it might seem forced or to you that I say a lot of good things about it, but I'm quite impressed. I was expecting way less than what I got. Okay, so power is on. This thing tells us the firmware version, and it's in standby mode, so cool to the touch, not heating up, not anything. It has a sleep mode in which it will stay at about 200 degrees. Don't touch it in sleep mode. This is, or no, or yeah, that's sleep mode, and this is standby mode when it's cool to the touch. Anyway, so let's see how we can actually do this. When I press A, I will also press that one. And this thing is heating up. And we're melting solder in 11 seconds or 10 seconds or something like that. So, and now to shut it off, both buttons, and it's off, and it will start to cool down. So that is an impressive heat up time in my opinion. I will compare it to the soldering iron that I use at the moment. Okay, this is what I'm going to compare it against. I really liked this thing when I got it compared to my no-name old one that was heating up in a few minutes. This was heating up way faster, but does it compare to that? We'll see. This is 80 watts. So in theory, if you have really thick wires, this might help you, but I cannot guarantee. They are quite close, 80 watts, 65, yeah. Anyway, and for extremely thick wires, but huge wires, you need something well above 100 watts anyway. So these are in a different ballpark. Anyway, this is also set to 300 degrees, so they have, I don't know, the same chance of heating up in the same time. Again, this is directly mains, and there's no comparing the size of these things. As you can see, much bulkier. Anyway, so let me zoom onto it for the same amount. Let's clear this. And yeah, this doesn't have an on-off switch on it, so when I give it power from mains, it's going to get power from mains. So I think I'm actually going to do something a bit weird. I'm letting it down, and when I press this at the same time, okay, picking it up and holding solder against it. Yeah, still heating up. And this is what you can expect from most cheaper soldering irons. The heat up time, not that great. And this is a cheaper unit, a good unit, don't get me wrong, a really good unit, but a cheaper one. Yeah, so at about 33 seconds we got solder to melt. So that's 3 times more, and it actually has more watts. So for the sorry about that, wrong zoom. For the heating up time, watts are not that important. How efficient the heating element is, that's more important. So yeah, that thing is awesome. What I think I'm going to do, I will continue to use this one in rougher environments where I don't want to damage the little guy. This is too nice to get damaged. So if I know I'm working in a rough environment, I will use this thing. It will get beat up, damaged over time. Yeah, anyway, a good thing. But this little guy right here, let me try and put everything away, is much nicer. And let me take into account that it probably is still hot. And yeah, next we will go inside the car and see if I'm lucky and I have an adapter that plugs into directly 12 volts. If not, I'm going to use the power brick and power it on inside the car, and then give you my final conclusion on this soldering iron. And I'm inside the car, and I have 2 adapters that might actually work, but in the end this one from a baby newborn bottle warmer, this doesn't quite fit, so it's a bit too thick. But this one that I have for my old IBM ThinkPad that I use to diagnose my car fits just perfectly. So basically I can use this thing inside the car without needing anything else. I already have everything that I need in here. So let me undo this cable and plug it in and see what happens. And yes, exactly as expected, this is not flickering in real life. This is just because of the refresh of the camera. We have more light in here, so let me, if I put it down somewhere, you can see it's not flickering anymore. If I take it out, it will flicker probably once again. Yes, exactly. So with a simple direct 12-volt cable, this thing is working. And I'm not going to test the heat up time, because for the other one they were quoting 11 seconds. I got 11 seconds until solder was melted, so I do believe them. And here, like this direct cable at 12 volts, it should be about 40 seconds until you can solder. But then again, you can use something like this, and I will also show you that in a second. And yes, for this thing, be careful about the polarity. You need to get it right. So it's minus on the exterior, plus on the interior. This is about the standard one, but you might have devices with the wrong polarity, so don't plug those cables in. So let me connect this thing now. And we are back with this thing, which is connected to 12 volts, and we are giving the soldering iron 24 volts now. So we are back at 11 seconds heat up time and solder melt time, basically. So this is another variant. This thing is really versatile. So yeah, I think this has been it for this video. Again, I will give you links in the description of it for everything that you could need to use this. Way better than expected. Honestly, I wasn't too thrilled that I was getting this, because I already had soldering irons, but now that I see this thing is much smarter and better, quite happy I got it, and I do recommend you get one of these. You don't really need anything else if you have it. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully this video helps you, in which case please give it a like, check out my other videos, and as always, see you in the next one. Bye.